A stoush between the Queensland and federal governments is threatening 42 development projects in that state worth billions of dollars, including a massive coal mine partly owned by billionaire Gina Rinehart. Today, the Federal Environment Minister, Tony Burke, announced he was overriding the Queensland Government's environmental assessment of the giant Alpha coal mine, describing it as shambolic. The mine's location means it could have an impact on the health of the Great Barrier Reef. The minister also threatened to subject all Queensland development proposals to full federal government assessments. Here's part of what he had to say.
We have no interest in a delayed process. We have no interest in slow timelines. But we are not willing to compromise environmental standards, nor are we willing to take the bait that Campbell Newman is offering us and have a situation where I give an approval of some description based on dud information, which simply results in the whole thing being overturned in the courts in about 18 months' time. That would be a disastrous outcome for jobs and a disastrous outcome for the environment. I don't have the level of trust in the Queensland Government, which I wish I had, but I cannot trust them with Queensland jobs. I cannot trust them with the Great Barrier Reef, and that's why I'll be taking the action that I've described today.
Well, to respond, I was joined a short time ago from Brisbane by the Queensland Premier Campbell Newman in his first 7:30 interview since being elected in March. Premier Newman, given that the Queensland Government obviously wants the jobs and the economic benefits that the Alpha project would deliver, why not just jump through the hoops that the federal government wants as quickly as you can?
Well, Lee, a comprehensive assessment has been undertaken of this project. It's been 4 years in the making already. But it's not just the Queensland Government that I lead that wants this approved. It's also people like Martin Ferguson and Anthony Albanese who are on the public record as strongly supporting the Galilee Basin projects. What we're seeing from Minister Burke, I'm afraid, is political game playing designed to win votes in urban areas in Sydney and Melbourne from the Greens. Well,
he says that he has 17 pages of advice from the Environmental Department saying that the process that the Queensland Government has gone through hasn't been thorough or accurate enough.
Well, let's see those 17 pages, because I can assure you, Lee, that my colleague, Deputy Premier Jeff Seeney, has been asking for the Minister's concerns, and we're more than happy to address them. I want to make it very clear that we are totally committed to protecting the environment and the Great Barrier Reef, but the Minister's statements today actually betray his politicking on this. He talked about dugongs and whales and turtles. Well, let's be very clear. The approval that the Queensland Government has granted is for the mine at Alpha and a railway line down to the coast at Abbott Point and the rail loop, but not the port itself. So unless whales have been sighted sort of 300 or 400 kilometres inland on the Belyando River, I don't think that's a legitimate issue for the Minister to raise, as he did today at his press conference.
But is it not possible that there could be runoff from that river system into the areas where those dugongs and turtles and dolphins are?
Look, there's been a comprehensive environmental assessment. If I had the room here this evening, a table, I could show you thousands of pages, multiple binders of information that's been prepared. This is just a game that's being played right now. There's the run-up to the next federal election, and Minister Burke is trying to sort of pretend in some way that he's looking after the environment, where in fact what he's doing is trying to play a wedge game.
Well, Tony Burke would no doubt say that he is supportive of the Alpha project. In fact, his department was meeting with representatives from that project today, but he just wants a thorough environmental assessment, which he claims that he doesn't have.
Well, Lee, again, there's been a thorough environmental assessment. This was going on long before I became the Premier of Queensland. This project's been around since 2008. I've mentioned what the federal government has said about it. The difference between my government and the federal government and Minister Burke is this. We believe the project should proceed, subject to conditions. Minister Burke is looking for every reason to stop the project under the guise of environmental protection. I mean, how about a bit of can-do? How about they tell us what the problems are, and I commit this evening that we will address them.
You say that there's a political game going on and that the federal government has an eye to the next election. They want to shore up their Green vote in Sydney and Melbourne. But surely, you know, the election is going to be, to a degree, won and lost in a place like Queensland. They would be acutely aware of this sort of issue, of how it might play in terms of jobs and economic development up there.
Well, Lee, I say this to people outside Queensland because Queenslanders know the score. And I just ask my fellow Australians to look at it this way. I was elected recently on the platform of protecting the environment but taking mining, agriculture, construction and tourism forward in Queensland, economic growth. We have high unemployment at the moment. We have a $85 billion debt position that we inherited from Labor, and I want to get on with the job. But if Minister Burke wants to play this game, guess what's going to happen? I predict that people like Wayne Swan and Graham Perrott in suburban Brisbane will lose their seats, and other federal Labor MPs will lose their seats because my team will be out telling Queenslanders that federal Labor are against jobs, against improving our economic outlook, particularly at a time when the share market yesterday had bombed in such a dramatic way.
But given the almighty kicking that Queenslanders gave Labor in the state election, I'm just wondering if that might mitigate against the coalition federally. Might Queenslanders think, well, we've already punished Labor?
That's not what people are saying to me, Lee. People in this state are infuriated with the Labor Party. They're infuriated with a Prime Minister who says one thing and does another. Only a few weeks ago I was at COAG in Canberra. The Prime Minister made a commitment to eliminate green tape. She told the business community that would happen. I'm really calling on the Prime Minister to rein in this rogue minister. Either she's supporting what he's doing or she must be looking on in appalled silence. Either way, she actually has to state her position. Does she believe that the Galilee coal project should proceed with conditions, or does she really support, for green political reasons, the actual blocking of these important resource projects for Queensland and the rest of Australia? She needs to say what she stands for.
But he has his departmental people meeting today with representatives from Alpha. Why would he be doing that if he doesn't have any intention of allowing the project to go ahead?
Well, I'm going on what he said today. I'm going on all his actions.
Well, he didn't say he doesn't want it to go ahead.
There's
he just
been a comprehensive...
wants it to be ticked off on some further environmental concerns.
Well, that's all he has to do. All we want to do... Look, again, Lee, it's very, very simple for viewers. We have been through a comprehensive assessment process. I've talked about the statements from Labor luminaries like Martin Ferguson and Anthony Albanese who support the project. The government says that they want mining revenues because they've got a new mining tax. What we want to know is, will the minister approve the project in the 30-day period provided for under the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act of the federal government? That's all the minister has to do. Approve the project, subject conditions. Let's get the jobs for Queensland and Australia and get on with it.
OK, Queensland Premier Campbell Newman, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Lee.